These are my mother's parents, Khalil and Wajiha. They were born and raised in Palestine, and they got married in Akka, Palestine in 1947. 3 months after they were married, the Israeli invasion of Palestine had started. Palestinians with enough money were able to run away to Lebanon, so Wajiha's family took her and Khalil and went to Beirut, leaving all their possessions behind. The border between Palestine and Lebanon had been closed as a result of the war, but for a few days the Israelis opened it for something they called Lem el-Shamal, which translates in English to gather everything. The Israelis were giving Palestinians who had left a fleeting chance to return. My grandfather wanted to go back to his family, but was hospitalized for typhoid fever, which he had contracted from the water. The Israelis had poisoned him and many others, and the borders closed. My grandparents stayed in Lebanon until 1950 when they moved to Baghdad, Iraq. They had my mother there in 1962. Since their exile from Palestine, my grandfather was unable to contact his family. For 17 years, they did not know where he was staying or even if he was alive. Being a Palestinian in Iraq, my mother was unable to obtain a passport or citizenship. Iraq was under the dictatorship of Saddam Hussein, who claimed he did not want Palestinians to forget their heritage or lose their identity. In fact, most Arab countries did not grant Palestinians citizenship. My grandfather was finally able to reunite with his family in 1965, but communication between Palestine and other Arab countries was still very restricted, making it very difficult for my mother to see or have a relationship with her father's family. In 1985, my mother married my father, who had an Iraqi citizenship. My mother's father died the next year, 36 years after being forced to leave his home. He died in Iraq without ever being able to return to Palestine. In 1991, my parents were forced to leave their home in Iraq because of Saddam Hussein's regime and moved to Jordan, where most of my mother's siblings lived at the time since they were married to Jordanians. However, my parents were unable to stay in Jordan as my mom would have had to gone through the difficult process of renewing her residency every year since as a Palestinian she did not have any citizenship. So they moved to Canada in 1996, where I was born. It was easy for my mom to obtain a Canadian citizenship, which was her first ever citizenship in her life, but she was separated from her entire family. This also meant that I did not get to have a relationship with my cousins from my mom's side. Fortunately, my family has been able to travel to Jordan a few times to visit my mother's family, the last time being in 2017, which was also mine and my mother's first time ever visiting Palestine. At the age of 55, my mother finally got to see the country her parents grew up in, a country that is still currently experiencing occupation, violence, and conflict. My grandparents' loss of their homeland led to my parents not being able to settle in Iraq or Jordan, and is the reason they were displaced to Canada. Although this is my home now, I grew up away from my culture and people. My family's story is one of many that displays how global conflicts and displacement can affect lives for generations.